Hey everybody, I am so excited about today. I have my good friend Joe Mohay, and Joe is with Ignite Visibility, and he is the president of the franchise group and the multi-unit organization. And Ignite Visibility has just really become a big and very exciting firm. They serve a lot of franchisors and a lot of other clients, frankly, but they've really had a lot of growth under their leadership. I think Joe at one point told me they have 800 employees, which is amazing as a digital agency and advertising firm, and so we have a lot of respect for Ignite. But I'm just so excited to have Joe here today with us. Joe is also a co-founder in our FranFaith group and has been very supportive to our community and our efforts. And so, Joe, thank you so much for being on today and sharing your story and spending some time with us.
Oh, this is great, Todd. I've been looking forward to this. This is just a great time to, really reflect on all the blessings that all of us have here, not just in business, but just faith and family. And I've been really wanting to share my story for quite some time. So thanks for the opportunity, Todd.
Yeah, you bet. Well, and getting to know you, you have an amazing and wonderful story. I do always like to kick off with, how did you guys suppliers are so crucial to franchisees and franchisors. Yes. You carry the ball in so many ways, and we're paid in this partnership, and you guys have been great partners. But I'm always kind of curious. I know you grew your own firm, and then I think if I know the story right, you were acquired by Ignite Visibility, and that's kind of how you guys became partners. I think our folks would love to know, how did you get there? How does somebody become as successful as you are, grow your own firm, get bought out? How do you get into that journey? So take us back a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. Yes, I have been just absolutely in love with this business and franchising and digital marketing, frankly. So I got my start in franchise marketing back in 2012. I co-founded a marketing agency called Integrated Digital Strategies, or also referred to as...
That's good that you're so on to your new brand name that...
I blanked out on my old one. But IDS, we had really cut our teeth in franchise development, specifically in the marketing sector. I had a co-founder, his name was Steve Galligan. He and I, we grinded. We built this business really as a bootstrapped agency, just him and I, and slowly, steadily growing in the franchise community. That's why I have so much love and respect for folks in this community, because it's all about the relationships. It's all about serving one another, and everyone is connected in some way. And what we were really able to do is build an agency around franchise marketing and growing the development side of their business, which is highly important, as we all know, and driving great lead generation, driving great marketing performance, and getting invited at the table and saying, hey, what else can you do for us to expand our marketing services? And again, keep in mind, Todd, we're a pretty lean team of 20 or so employees, but we were getting wins little by little on those franchise consumer deals, along with continuing to build the franchise development side of our business marketing. And next thing you know, time's flying by and 10 years go by. And Steve's a bit older than me, more mature, and I had some years in front of me, and he said, hey, I think we want to see what this agency's value is, and let's see what we can get as a next phase for our journey. And I said, Steve, I trust you completely, let's do that. And remarkably, we were highly sought after, and truly, Todd, I did not expect that. I knew we had something special, but the market really showed that there was a lot of demand for an agency that was specialized within this franchise and multi-location sector. We had a stellar reputation, ranked among the top tier as top franchise supplier year after year. We were lean, we were profitable, we were hungry, and we were very fortunate to be approached by Mountain Gate Capital, who also, PE firm who also owns Ignite Visibility, and said, hey, Ignite is a powerhouse in digital marketing. And we all knew that. I've known of Ignite for years. And they were really focused in on a much more enterprise level client, had some really nice national to local relationships, but they wanted to really tackle that franchise multi-location business and take it to new heights. And they made an amazing offer and gave me a role as president of the franchise and multi-location business. It's been now a little over 2 years, and we are doing a lot in this space. If you probably know, Todd, we're up to 800 people, acquired four other companies in that 2.5 year period. And we've got some big growth plans even going into 2026. So it's been a blessing. And I'm very, very proud of where our team is going and where we're going as an agency.
Yeah, well, you should be. Yeah, we've gotten to know the Mountain Gate Capital people a little bit, as well as the leadership at Ignite, and all exceptional people.
They are amazing people.
So great that you can be with such a great team and continue to grow and serve franchising, but then also sell out. I mean, that, I'm sure you have your new deal and everything with a growing firm, everything with your ongoing thing, but to have that success behind you, certainly the envy of many of us that are trying to grow our entrepreneurial enterprises. So well done.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, Joe, as we've talked a little bit, one of the things that struck me is when we were sitting down at a table, I remember one conversation where you were talking about selling out and growing and success, and I thought, well, this guy's done some really neat things. But then you immediately came and you were just so humble and so genuine and so pure in your heart. You talked about the struggles that you've had, and you were so transparent. It hasn't always been sunshine and roses. And I remember that struck me because I think that's a theme throughout the entire Bible. You see the arrogant get knocked down in the Bible, story after story after story, and you see the Lord lift up and sustain the humble. And your story struck me, and I just, if you're okay with it today, could you share a little bit of some of the struggles and kind of what was going on in your life?
Absolutely, Todd. Yes, it was definitely a number of years of really putting everything else to the side outside of really the business. It was just being a single father. I have twin boys, as a single father, and having a commitment to be a present father with twin boys that, were raised by me, for most of their life as a single father. Put a lot of perspective that, I have a major responsibility to provide for these kids and protect for these kids. And I was really on my own for many, many of those years. But I always knew that God was present. I've always looked at it like God's got my path carved out well ahead of me even knowing where I'm going, and I try to stay faithful. But there were those long nights, because I'm so committed to the business and putting in those 50, 60 hours and traveling and having family support like I did, which really was an amazing blessing to tend to those boys when I was away. I was isolated, frankly, Todd. I was alone a lot. The weekends when they're with their mom and I'm back from travels, I'm exhausted. I just spent a lot of time alone and isolating, and it really took its toll on me. And it was a point in time where I just said, man, I've got to change something about me. I just don't know where and how to do it. And one day, it was remarkable, and this was going on for years, Todd, just being really, in my own little bubble, I guess you'd say. And one day, a lightning bolt struck a tree in back of my yard, and it just literally...
Wait a second, there's so much humor in that, because you say, struck by lightning. This actually involved a lightning bolt.
It literally did, with my own eyes. It was just one of those moments. I was kind of moping around my couch on a Saturday morning, a rainy morning, and just thinking, reflecting, okay, I'm 45 at this point, don't have a significant partner. I'm just about my kids and my business. And I said, I gotta figure a way out of this, because those lulls go deep, and you're just kind of trying to figure out how to get yourself out of that. And then lightning struck, literally, Todd, right on my home. Maybe missed me by 7 feet by my patio door. The whole tree came down, and it, to me, was a sign from God saying, all right, wake up, boom. I'm going to give you a wake-up call of your lifetime. We can do more. You are powerful. You are lovable. You are faithful. And those were things that started to kind of make its way into my mindset. And so it was a wake-up call for me. And I started to do research. I started to think about how can I build some community of people or with people that I feel the same way, mostly, men that are so consumed in business and forget the other really important aspects of their life. And I came across some really amazing men that we all kind of got vulnerable with each other and shared our stories and just truly poured into each other and how we can build better balance in our lives, better, of course, helping in business. It's always important to do that, but having more connection with God, taking care of our body. And so I really try to work on that core 4 of my life, where it was my body, making sure I'm eating right, I'm tending to my morning habits consistently. I'm meditating, I'm praying, I'm connecting with the Lord. and thanking him and sharing my gratitude for things that I have. Even this is well before, this deal, this transaction, and all the blessings that I'm about to share later in this podcast. So I became humble, but I was always, now at that point, sharing gratitude. And it built some really great habits that I carry through today. And it's led to some amazing blessings, Todd. But definitely the drive there is long.
So if I'm hearing you right, then you started to change your habits. So you were spending, literally like starting to spend some morning prayer time or with God. And then you mentioned that feeling of feeling lovable. You started to feel God's love in that?
Yeah, feeling God's love, feeling love among my family and my more closer relationships that I wanted to create. I just felt like I was at one point unlovable because I just didn't have a lot of support around me and personal relationships and things of that nature. And when I really reflected and asked God for some of that, that blessing to bring someone close to me, that, bring someone that could be a partner to me, he had that person in mind. But just it had to be at the right time. But I'm going to that kind of those habits of just building my strength, building my mind, building connection with God. The being above, making sure I'm thanking Him and speaking to Him and praising Him and honoring Him for the gifts that I have, and also to build better balance with my sons because they were now teenagers, and as teenagers grow, as we all know, they tend to distance themselves from parents typically. Yep. And I, as a single father and in business and traveling, that distance became pretty evident. So I would pray on helping me build more balance with my kids, and I would make more time and put things aside and do more activities with them. And as that started to really work itself in my life over a period of months, I started to find more blessings from God. And I could share a little bit more about where that is today, if you like, or
yeah. Well, first of all, just thank you so much for sharing that and the transparency of that, because I think so many of us deal with those struggles, whether it's debt or profitability or a situation in life or a depression or a health diagnosis. And it's hard. You don't know where to turn. And a lot of times you get isolated and you start having those thoughts that, I'm going to die, or am I ever going to make it out of this, or what's going to happen? Those fears, those worries. And for you, the lightning strike thing was really quite amazing. But what's probably more amazing is how you turned your heart toward God and worked through it, spent that time, and then the tangible feeling of knowing that you're loved and knowing that lovability started to knock out that darkness. Yeah. And then you went out and loved and were loved by others in the story, it sounds like, with the other businessmen that you met with and by your kids. Yeah. And boy, my heart is for so many to find that same blessing, to find that same relationship with God and to know that they're loved. So that's just, Joe, that was such a powerful message when we talked about it on that first day, and it continues to be an incredible, powerful message. As you kind of went on with this journey, I know you developed certain habits and a routine. In fact, I also find it kind of funny because FranFaith, we talk about franchise, faith, your fitness, your finances, and your family. Those 5 F's that are, kind of bring that balance in life. Yeah. And as we talk to you a little bit more about your story, I know you have certain habits beyond just the morning routine of talking to God and kind of seeking Him first each day. But maybe you could talk to us a little bit about some of those areas and some of your successes or blessings, or that He's led for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one big blessing was as I started to really be vulnerable with the men that I had referred to, this community of men that are spiritually connected to God or business people and follow this very similar core of pillars, with your body, your being, your balance, and your business. I started to share really some things that I really would love to have. I'd love to have, an amazing partner in life. I'd been single, all through the duration of me having IDS and having my kids in business. Wasn't a lot of things that really, a lot of time to do other things. And that was, where I had that isolation happening for a number of years. And then I remember distinctly, Todd, I was in Laguna Beach at a gathering with some of these men, and I prayed on it. I went to the ocean. I said, God, I know you can, but will you? That was the words I used. Will you give me that partner in life that I need to take my life into the journey I want it to go? And no kidding, Todd, within a week and a half, after 14 years of being a single man, single father, I met Anna. Just kind of out of nowhere. A mutual friend introduced me, and I met her, and I saw this gleaming, beautiful smile and this humility and this person that I just said, wow, this is who he had me for.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Shortly after dating, say, a year, I realized this is the woman I want to be with forever, and I proposed to her, and we got married just here on November 8th. We live together. We have our blended family because she has two beautiful daughters around the same age as my sons. I have my two boys. They're in college. Everyone is doing great. We all live this big blended family in my home like the Brady Bunch, and we got my corgi, and we got her cat, and I couldn't have been happier. Allowed me to do is say, okay, I am a servant leader to God, a spiritual, masculine leader for our family, because these girls needed spiritual guidance and leadership. And now I make a habit of paying a lot of attention, but not being too intrusive, right? But just praying for them, being there if they need me, just being present. What I do is I'll write sticky notes. I got my sticky note book here every morning, right? I got my sticky notes. And I write a note, and I leave it on their door every morning of what I appreciate about them, what I noticed something that was really special that they did for their mom or their sister or for my sons, something I just love them to know how I feel about them. And what a lift in their spirits, what a smile they give every day, and they thank me in their own way, like, wow, that's so thoughtful. So it sets the tone for the morning for the family. I do my morning, I pray my Bible, I talk to God, I ask him to bless the family and give me also that focus and strength, and whatever I'm facing, any challenge I'm facing, I speak to the Lord every morning in my Bible, quietly alone, and then I try to spread that blessing and that attention to my children. Yeah. And I think that lifts them up, that, what, Dad's here, he's got us, and he knows, and also pouring the Lord into them.
There's a profound spiritual point, I think, that I don't want to have it be lost, because I think there's a lot of young people, both men and women, that, the marriage age it's harder and harder to get together, and it's being delayed, and people aren't having kids, and it could be economic, but it could also be spiritual. And I heard a profound point there, Joe. And you said, in your prayer, you said, I know you can, Lord, but are you willing? You were asking, you were humble. You came to a point where this was the desire of your heart. Bible says the Lord knows the desire of your heart. You said, I know you can, Lord. You are all powerful, but are you willing? Which is right out of the Lord's Prayer. Thy will be done.
Yes.
And you had asked the Lord, and then all of a sudden, it probably should come as no surprise, a week and a half later, that God lined up this wonderful, faithful saint and
God
sister,
yeah,
and said, Joe's heart is prepared, and Anna is very special. She's my daughter, and I'm going to bring them together now. The timing is right. And so only God can do that kind of thing. And you were praying along the lines of God's will. And I believe in the depth of my being that was a spiritual connection, and there was a reason why you were put together. A profound point that if somebody is lonely and seeks out God and truly humbles himself and then comes before and asks for God's will, just about anything could be done.
Wow.
So that's...
Just hearing it back from you, Todd, that gets me a little emotional, because it was the most amazing experience, and I've always been faithful to God, but knowing that he did it at the exact moment that I needed it to happen. If it was too soon, it would have been a different scenario. It was at the moment that truly both of us needed each other, and our children needed them as well.
Yeah. Well, and now you're living in God's abundance of gratitude in this wonderful family together where everyone is being enriched. And so I do believe that is a principle of God, and that is kind of how it works.
Yeah.
And it isn't about money, or it isn't about anything else. It's just about that joy, that love, that coming together, the family, and meeting everyone's needs. I mean, it's an awesome story.
Thank you, Tom.
So I know you've talked a little bit now, too, about balance and kind of as life goes on, some of the lessons you've learned and keeping balance. But then I know you've been blessed as a business leader, too. You kind of want to be faithful to your business, faithful to your family. So how do you work through that balance today? How are you living today now?
Well, thankfully, Ignite has been just an amazing, so supportive of, all of us as leaders that, it's important to have balance in your life. You're better at work, you're a better leader, you're better, for your clients, you're serving them to the best abilities you have. So I get, like everyone in our organization, have ample time to spend time with family, not overworking, make sure you're taking your PTO, make sure you're taking time away from work and shut it down, So I appreciate that, because my days at IDS, not that we didn't like to take our breaks, but it was such a grind as an entrepreneur, you really just don't know when to shut it off. And it put me in a situation, of course, to build a great business, but I was losing in so many of the areas of my life. Now things are balanced. I've got this beautiful wife, I've got these amazing daughters, I have my sons doing so well with college and working, and seeing how I've changed, because they've seen things in me in my earlier years where they saw Dad being alone and sad and isolated, and that had effect on them. It truly did. But now it's like, okay, Dad made it through, and he is stronger than ever. He's got this amazing woman, a great family life, and I pay attention to all of that now. And I have the ability with Ignite to make sure I'm running the business the way they need me to. It's a lot bigger. There's a lot of great leaders in the company, so it doesn't all fall on when I was just, me and Steve. Now there's a lot of great, talented leaders here, and we all kind of do our things that we're great at. And that's what's so exciting about us as business people, but also having such great balance in life. Like I have date night with my wife a couple times a week. I have the date night with the daughters to take them out to a fun thing that they like. My sons go to an Orlando Magic game, which they love, or go do a workout, or take the dog, the corgi that we have out, take him for a good walk. Needs it, So it's just nice to just have all that going on and be clear-minded when you come into work on Monday, knowing you spread your life in all those 4 core areas, which is so different.
So if I were to play that back to you, it sounds like you're witnessing with your life and only using words if necessary. That when the kids see you actually living it out and your family sees that, it's pretty awesome. So, and it does take a little bit of mindfulness and intentionality in that area to bring that balance. So I'm so glad that you have great partners in Ignite that they recognize that too, because that's very important. Well, Joe, I so appreciate your faithfulness and blessing, and the fact that you've come together with this wonderful family and continue to be successful with Ignite Visibility. Such a great story. Is there anything that I'm missing that was on your heart or that you wanted to share?
No, I think the only thing is that just, for the folks that might see this, just trust in the Lord. He has your path created well in advance of you ever crossing that road, and just trust in Him with the ups and downs, because there is a way to get to your desired goal as long as you honor Him and trust Him, which I do every day, and I instill that in my children, because they go through their stresses and ups and downs, and they need that encouragement. So that's part of the balance, is praying for them, praying with them, praying over them, and knowing that God's in their life, and that's the thing that I live by.
True. Yeah. So true. Hey, so let me take a minute as we wrap up and just kind of say to our FranFaith community, we so appreciate, first of all, Joe Mohay for sharing today. And Joe is such a successful leader in the franchise world. And all of these leaders that share on this or have come together as co-founders in FranFaith are incredibly important to our community. And so if you've enjoyed this, we just ask that you would like or share any of our posts, and that you would join in our FranFaith community, join in the Circles app, and and you can also join and be a follower in LinkedIn and any of our social media. All of it is important as we interact as a community. And so we do appreciate all of everyone's support. Joe, we appreciate your support and being a co-founder in FranFaith.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing your wonderful story of
Thank you, Todd.
blessing. So
I appreciate that. Thank you for all you're doing for the franchise community and all of us as FranFaith members. I know we're going to do some amazing things together as we get this mission out there more and more. So thank you, and Christy, and all of you, and God bless.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe.